Good morning. Welcome to the third video of a three video set. Today's video will be a recorded live session of how I use the Fibonacci tool. In this video, I add extra indicators to show how measuring these cycles actually point to other indicators on the chart. Some of the primary focus will be how I set how I measure the cycles themselves and what may make change my mind about making adjustments to the original measurement. Also, and the most important thing that I can teach anyone is the proper mindset. What am I thinking as price moves through my zones that I'm measuring, but also through the cycles themselves? So let's get started. Today is September the 12th, 2025. It's Friday morning, about almost 9:20. Today's video will be on targeting, and if you've watched the first two videos, you'll know that I use nothing, absolutely nothing but price action to determine the targets. Well, today I'd like to add on top of that normal targets that traders use to enhance what we already know. And if you've not watched the first two videos, Proof of Concept and Secret Sauce, I would recommend you go back and view those before this video so that you understand what I'm about to do. So before I get started, I want to show you what is on my chart for targets. Let's start with the blue and the lavender dots. These are the value area high and low of the day before. So these dots are from this day. These dots are from this day. And the dark area is regular trading hours. The gray area is overnight hours. So we got value area high, value area low, and then you've got the volume profile out here in the expansion area. Now, along with the volume profile, we have the daily point of control, and then we have weekly or chart point of control. And I had to put a label up here because most of the time this one will be out of view. When I start focusing in on the recent price action, this will be out of the view. So I put a label up here uh, so that I always know where it is. And the same way with value area high and value area low, these dotted areas right here. Remember, these are from the day before, not today's. The point of control is from today. The volume profile will be from today. And then this yellow dash line here is the VWAP, the daily VWAP. It's also here, but I generally don't use this on my charts. This will be for teaching today. And then this is the weekly VWAP, and it does become a significant target. Now we've stayed above it a lot here recently, but you'll see that it does come back on a regular basis as a target. Okay, uh, so let's get started. First thing that I do is I like to go back and find a bottom or a top, depending on which way I am addressing price action. So I consider this a significant bottom. People could say this is a bottom, that's a bottom. Yes, you have lots of small so-called bottoms here, but This is where price action was actually coming down. All of these price action is going up. So this is the bottom right here that I choose. And the reason why I choose that is when entities decide to switch from selling to buying, the very first jump off a bottom usually will signify where they're going. Let's see here. You know, like this right there. I'm sure if I zoomed in on a 5-minute chart, it would show that it's right here. Let's see. Let's get down to right there. Okay. The reason why I like this is because the 1.5 and the 2 line up, and 0.5 almost. But this, if you remember from the first video, the proof of concept, if it does not come back to the 0.5, it's going to the 2. Now, since this is the first rise off the bottom, and I think that it always signifies the rest of the move up, which I've already seen that the move is continually up. I'm going to add these other levels to this. And let's see, we've got a touch here. Touch and slow down here, a touch here, a touch here. Couldn't make it to that one. Comes back down, settles on the, that's the 250. That looks like a pretty good grid. We got touches here. Got another one almost to there. Okay. This is the 650. So that's what I'd be looking at as my next target. Um, change that line. Let's change it to a dash. There we go. And there you go. Now it looks more normal. Well, we almost touched it right there. Okay, so if this is my next overall target, then something in this area should be pointing to that level right there. Now, if I take what was yesterday's, I'll go back and get it. Come on now. There we go. And if you remember from the first two videos, or actually it was a secret sauce video, that if you measure the overnight move, then you should come up with levels for the daytime move. And you want to keep this measurement to the next overnight to see whether price action has contracted or expanded. So let's move this from yesterday overnight to today's. I don't know if you can see that real well, but there's the, let's see if I can focus in a little bit better on it. There we go. This a little bit lower. There we go. Okay, so price action has not expanded or contracted from yesterday's overnight. We got a little bit up here above it, but I still consider that this is the overall overnight move, and it's still holding right here. sort of. Okay, so with that being said, let's see where that points to. Well, it points to right above the overall long-term move, which is right here. And this is yesterday's value area high. So I would say that this area right here is a heavy resistance area. So my first target would be in this area right here. And I would carry it up to, since this is the 1.5 of the overnight, I would consider the 2 my major target, but I would start taking profits right here if I was a day trader. So let's see what we've got here from now. If we look, drill down to a 5-minute chart. Okay, the dash line is the daily VWAP. Well, the dash red line is the point of control, daily point of control. Here's your profile from, let's see, we're going back 5 days. So this volume profile can go back for the last 5 days. The reason why I like that is this could have been the first move very easily. That would make this the second, up to the second move, and this up to the third move. So this actually looks like the best place to put this bottom's measurement. Yep, and it's targeting yesterday's value area high. Now see what happens if I expand it. Let's see where it goes. It's not lined exactly with any of these others, but it's still showing this area from the overall chart uh, measurement that this is going to be a sticky resistance area right through here if we make it that high. Next week is Optex. We've had a lot of, let me resume this. We've had a lot of up action. A lot of these calls are juiced, and I think the market makers may need to take some value out of that by selling it down between now and OPEX, which is next Friday. And it wouldn't surprise me at all for it to come back down to this area down here where the weekly VWAP is, and a large profile right through here. So as today's goes on, I'll be in and out with this video. There we go again, how strong that 0.5 line is from, that was this move, the very first one. It did pass up past the 0.5 there, comes down to, so it's going to be the 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 is right inside this 0.5. So when this first move happened, if I was here measuring it and looking at it, I would say that it was targeting first the VWAP, and then when it dropped below that, this 0.5 line, because it's still part of the measurement from that very first move. And now this line is the 150 from, I guess, the overnight, one of the overnights. Yeah, the bottom of the overnight. So that is showing that that is a valid line and that that's where this should be going. From the bottom to the VWAP from the overnight makes it a good line, a good measurement. That was the target from both this move and that overnight line lined up perfectly, and it also was lining up with the high of the day. Okay, so this, between these two lines, if you remember from the first video, is a no-fly zone because you're looking for it to bounce off of the white line, but you're also looking for it to fail below this line, the orange line. So in this entire area right here, we're probably just a hair bit more bullish than bearish, but we also have targets down here. Let's see. Let's see. Just want to just see. Okay, see it's shooting for the daily VWAP as a target. So this is a no-fly zone. Anywhere in this area right here, I would say is no fly. It's going to have to break out one way or another, show me a significant move inside that area before I would even think about taking a trade. But it is more bullish than bearish since we're up in this upper quadrant of this move. So since I think we chop around for a little bit, probably until maybe 10:30 when the Europe closes. I'll keep the video going and I'll pop in and out as I see something. But right now, I think we move sideways for a while. Okay, I'm gonna jump on real fast. A couple things is I went ahead and set an alert up here because it looks like it was going there. I'm gonna remove this. What I was looking at was this move off the bottom is a 2.0 move. And the reason why I say that is because once it hit it, it never came back to the 0.5. And the 2 is right here, so it should come up in this area and at least tag it. It's also the 1.5 from this move, which it came back to the 0.5. And that leaves me as my first target is the 1.5 from this move. So you have three things right in this area. And this is what I'm talking about targeting is when you have a cluster of, I don't want to call them all indicators, but uh, something in the area where there are multiple targets. That's the best I can do. Will usually produce a result. So I went ahead and set that up here a little earlier. It didn't quite hit it, but I'm pretty sure. Let's see, it's 5 day. Yeah, that shows that it hit it, but I'm gonna take it off anyway. So now what I expect is it to come down to here and then go up to possibly the 2.0 on this if it can go that high. Like I said earlier, I still expect between now and next Friday for this thing to roll over and knock out some of the value of all the call options that were bought over the last week or so. Okay, what you're seeing me here do is adjust my initial assessment of this. The first set it here because this is a basic, oh man, with no tails. Okay, so I set it here thinking that it comes to here, it comes up to the 0.5, and then comes back down to the 1.5. Uh, and the reason why is I like having that 0.5 right here also. It because of this candle, it stopped right there. But I'm looking at this, and what if this? See, that doesn't work. The point I'm trying to make is that this could be it also, because you still got it sitting right here at the end here. Uh, Either way, is this going to be considered the top? It looked like to me that this is more likely the top. And as you're trying to learn how to focus your grid, what you're going to learn is you need 3 points actually. But you continuously could move your initial move until you get your third point. Now, for me, the third point is an association with the 0.5 from the upward move because that's still a strong area of support. It all depends where this move goes to. And as long as it doesn't get anywhere close to here, then it's a 2.0 move, which will bring down to here. Once it comes up to here, my view will be I'm going to move this to where that satisfies this move, which if I want to right now, kind of cheat a little bit. That's right in between both of them. Okay, let's drill down and look at this. This is going to be considered the first upward move if the 0.5 can hold right here. And that may make this line supposed to be down just a little bit lower. We'll see. But this move right here, it either needs to come up to the 0.5 or it's going down here to the 2.0. And we won't know until it gets out of this kind of no-fly zone right here. But this move needs to have its second leg up. That's why we call it two-step. There's almost always two steps to it. And I expect this to come to at least here. Remember the rules from the first video. If it breaks down in this quadrant, I'm out. But if it recovers, then I go back to thinking bullish again. If it recovers quickly. And it did with this candle right here. So like I said, I'm still in a no-fly zone. I may still be thinking more bullish, but it's no-fly. You got so much support sitting right here, but we're looking for that second move from this. I don't believe that was enough. Okay, so that's the same, kind of like the overnight. It's the same measurement. But now you've got a 0.5 here, 1.5, and the 2's here. So this is the target. And it'll take a break above this, a close above that, and then a break above the high for me to go back to being completely bullish. There we go. There's the target. So we've gotten to the 2. I can go ahead and move this up to here, and I'm going to remove this because this is no longer valid. We got above it unless it quickly comes back down below it. And then I'll just put it back. You see how all the support right in this area kept it from coming down here? Now the support for me on the bullish side is right here. But if I was to put this back, you see how we've got a no-fly zone in between here? Because you're bullish on this cycle to here, as long as it stays above that, and you're bearish on this cycle as long as it stays below the orange line. Okay, close below that, and then a break of that low is an automatic out if you were playing anything positive about this move. But a quick recovery keeps me on the bullish side. Like I said in the beginning, today's price action is just choppy, choppy, choppy. Okay, so by the rule, we broke that low. Now, we still have all the support sitting there. So you're still in a no-fly zone. But also, yep, that makes that my new high. Because there's my third point right there. And that makes the VWAP the target. Let's see if it can break this support through here. The reason why I don't like this move measured from here is that it came up above the 0.5 if I had just measured this as my first move. But once I got to here, I can adjust the complete move. It looks a little more like it's consistent with what's happening. Okay, we just touched the VWAP. We're almost. We're breaking through all the support. If we break through the support, this would be my next line right here. Okay, notice how we broke below all of the support now. So this would be my next target. I also want to reiterate the fact that I was not able to set this move to the proper level until I saw these candles right here, because I started out with the move at this level, the start of it. And on an ugly day, sometimes you just got to do that. Most days are more decisive. Now let's see what happens when we hit this level right here. We should bounce off of it, come back up to here. But just in case, there's our bounce. Let's add a couple more levels down here. Now my guess is we would probably fail this. I want to go back to this explanation here where I couldn't set this level until these three candles came up. But what you've got is your two steps down, your one step up, your two steps down to the 1.5, one step up to the 100, and then two steps down to your 200. And that's why I refer to this as the two-step method, is that there's always two steps, always a second run coming. And other than a breakout news event. So I'd be looking for all this support now to be resistance. Moving averages are another target that can be used. I just chose the VWAPs for this video. Look, 200 is right there in all this mess area. The 21, which is the gray line, is coming down to it. Come up and bounced or failed off of that. The 50 is still up here higher. So we're below the 200 now, and we're below the 21. It looks like it's using the 21 to fail. So our next line would be back down here, which that is the 50% of the overnight, this lavender line, and that's the 250 off of this choppy move right here. It looks like if it breaks below this right here, this line, then most likely we're going to be coming back down to here. And this would be a 2.0 move, which means there's the 1.5 from this larger move. And then where would the 2 be? See, this is lines up with several different of the other lines, the other measurements from the upward move here. So that might make it a stronger targeting issue. And that brings us down here to the, what is that, 65.84 line. So now we're starting to get targets in this area. And we did touch that right there. Off of this, what I'm calling this complete major move right here. And the reason why I think this is a 2.0 move is because that never tried to come up and touch it after it came to the 100. Never got even close back up here. By the rules of the first video, that's a 2.0 move, which means it won't stop until it gets down to that, what I say, 65.84 line. Okay, we just tagged a 1.5 again. We still have a lot of targeting in this area right here. And point of control over the 5 days is right here now. Point of control, daily point of controls here. You got the daily VWAP here. A lot of magnetism right here in this area. All right, let's see. We just tagged this 2.5, and this becomes our major move, which the 2.0 is down around this area. So we tagged. Yeah, we tagged it right there. That's the 2.5 from the initial downward move. Still think this is going to be a magnet all day long. Or this is a first move right here. And it came down to the 2.0. Once it got to the 2.0, we moved the entire move down here. So now this is the 100 and this is the 0.5, which still puts us all right in this same area right here. Okay, I decided to measure this first little move right here, and we came down to the point 0.5. Look where our target is for a 2.0 move. Here's your 1.5, which is where it should go at the very least. But with all this mess sitting right here, I'd say that that's probably the target for this little upward move. Okay, there's the 200. That's the was the target from this upward move right here. Now we're right back into this mess again. So I'm gonna move this up to here now. And this becomes our 0.5 line. Let's see what we're targeting. 1.5 and the 2's way up there. I still have to stay more bearish because we're below all of this resistance right here. Okay, so we got the 200, we got the 50, which is the blue line, and we got the 21, all converging right in the same area. That's another reason. Okay, so we're about to come back down to that 0.5. So I'm waiting for it to come back down here and tag this. From there, we'll see whether it tries to get up here to this 1.5 area. If it breaks back through all this area right here, I'd be more bullish. But I still feel the easiest path is downward. Not so much by the patterns that we're seeing, but by the fact next week's OPEX. Yeah, we just about tagged that. Let's see. Okay, we tagged that. Now let's see where we go from here. Put the volume back up. Get some volume. Now, for most of you, you're going to be looking at this saying, this is way too many lines, way too much stuff on the chart for me to uh, deal with. But I can tell you that as time goes by and you use this more and more, you'll learn that you can look at what you need and just blot out the rest. See, like right now, I'm mainly looking at this cycle. These cycles I don't care about. I mean, I better not say I don't care about them because I still think we go down. But this is the major, or this is the last cycle. So this is the one that I primarily watching it, and I could just do this. We break that low, yeah. So by the rule, if I was in a trade, bullish trade, I'd have to be out right here. I would have bought right here, and I'd be out as soon as it breaks this low, because we had to close below the 0.5 and a break of that low. Even though we got support lines here, I would have to see this recover quickly. A close up here and then a break of that for me to stay bullish. Well, there's your close. Okay, by the rules, I'm only slightly more bullish because it quickly recovered to 0.5 and broke that high right there. But there's still so much resistance in the way right here. I just would not be trading it. The target now is this line right here, 65.93. But with all this resistance in the way, I don't know whether it'd ever make it. And it can't make up its mind whether it wants to stay above this. But if it breaks this line that I'm sitting at, this where my arrow is, yep, it just broke it. So we're now more bearish. So we would have had two stop outs right here. Okay, I'm noticing this volume right here, pushing it through this congested area. So it does look like we may come up here and hit that target. Okay, judging from this move all the way up to here, it could not come back down to the 0.5, so we're most likely going to the 2, which would be, that's way up here. Ooh, that is 65.97. Well, the 1.5 from the overnight, or from the bottom of the overnight. It's 200 is still up here. On these choppy days, you do get quite a bit of lines. And you can delete some of them, like this one can probably go. Because I'm using the, let's see, which one would I delete? Almost above this one. Yeah, I'll delete this one. I would keep these two because this creates a resistance area right here. This was the lines that are the measurement I just put up from that 15-minute chart. And that is the 1.5. If it stays true, it'll come down here. And then it'll go on up to the 2. Wait, 2's right here. 65.95. So let's see if that holds. Alright, I just tagged the 100 from the that 15-minute measurement. Bounced off of it. It's the 1.5. It came back down to the 1. So it should come up here to this 200. I'll put a alert there. Now because it broke below this 0.5 of this move, the 1.5 is all that I expect. If it goes to the 2, it does. But with it breaking below the 0.5 here, this move, the 1.5 is the best that I could expect. In this area, I still expect to be a magnet all day long. Okay, I'm looking at the open interest right now of the ES, and we got a lot of open interest at the 65.50. with quite a bit of volume. It seems to be the biggest target. We've got a lot of volume at 90. And then I'll look over here on the call side, and we've got a lot of volume in this 65.95 area. Open interest, the highest one is 6,600, so, and 65.50. So there is a good chance we're going to end up right around the 6,600 area, or at least try to get back up there and let some of those people out. But the people that just bought here, that's what they're shooting for. At 65.95. Okay, I'm gonna go eat some lunch. This is a magnet area. Right now, this is my next target. Could go to here, but I think this is the target. And that was from this move right here. From here at call it 1050 to 1057. All right, test on the audio. All right, back from lunch. I see we went up and tagged where my alert was. Come back again. That's caused by that the open interest that we looked at earlier around this 695, 600 level. And let's see if anything's going on. Well, we're getting a lot more volume down here too than what we had. Anyway, we are getting a little more volume around that put side, but I don't know that that's enough to bring us all the way down. But this volume in here are either people that are going to want to pin it or they're going to use it to come up and try to get out of their positions. And that's what looks like what's happening is that they're just coming up and then selling off. Let's see. Got some heavy downward volume. And we got some decent volume coming up. It could be either way. They could pin it or they could just be using that area to get out of their positions. Just in case I gloss over some of that earlier time span when I edit this video, there are a lot of lines that are on this chart. And a lot of traders will say, well, that's just too many lines to be keeping up with. But for the ability to be able to determine where the price action is going, these lines are all still valid. This particular one may not be anymore. We did have a break above it. We didn't break that high, but we broke above it, and it reclaimed it down here. So it's still somewhat valid. I still keep the same view that I've had since way back here. We're just in like a no-fly zone in all this area right here. It's just there's too many things right through here that are going to keep it magnetized down to here. In fact, let's see. Let me look just in case. Okay. I'm not going to keep this here, I don't think, but I want to see. Okay, so we've got the first move off the top, came back up, broke above a little bit, came down to the 1.5, came back up to the half, went down to the 2. Let's see, go to 2.5. Yeah, the 2.5 kind of held it. Went back up. Okay, now I just shook around here. Back to the 1, back to the half. Let's see how this halfway point acts right here. See how strong it is. And that's the half off of this move right here, this first little move. Now I'm teaching it this way on a 1-minute chart, but I don't recommend someone who's trying it for the first time, even the 20th, 30th time, to be using a 1-minute chart. Go to a 5-minute chart. It'll make your moves a lot larger. Like you'd be able to know to start down here and work your way up to the 1.5, which was here. That is a 90. Where's the half? That was right here. 90 to 94. On a day like today, that's 4 or 5 points. You start messing with these 1-minute moves, and you're not going to get quite that. Even like this move right here, you could get 95 to 94.5. So that's not worth the trouble of trying to buy or sell short inside these smaller moves. I'm using this to teach that it, the cycles are more often on a 1 minute. It allows me to keep this video um, more engaging. So even though that this was a very small move, that 0.5 right there is holding up. However, if I measured this move, let's see, it would be here. Yeah, I would put it here. It's got a target right here, which was the top of these two, where they closed. It could go on up to the 97. It's got to work its way through this resistance right here first. The volume is stronger to the downside. It does have decent upward volume, but I think that the downward volume outweighs the upward volume. And this is still a magnet. Now, if we work our way through this resistance, even to right here, in fact, I'll probably go ahead and delete that right now. I've already shown how strong that 0.5 mark was. And this is a 0.5 mark from way earlier. That was this move. And it's been holding it right through this area. This one held it to here. We're definitely above it. I'm going to get rid of this one. And this is how you can cancel out some of the lines on your chart as they break through these areas. Okay, we're above this. There's my next target. And this is a 2.0 move. It couldn't come back to the 0.5, so it should get to there. Alright, let's see. Can I cancel this one out? We broke above it. We broke above the high. I could almost cancel this line or this measurement. Let me see. This is a 2.0 move from here. That means that's to there. So I would say we're going to get a lot of resistance in between here, where it would have to come back down, maybe into this area. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to keep that downward measurement there for now. We've already eliminated several of the lines. Let's see what happens. And we're at that 96 level that we talked about earlier. Now, if I were to measure this, it would probably put us down into here for the second move. Now it'll put us back below this 0.5 orange dash line. There's no reason to measure these one candle moves though, unless, just for teaching type purposes. And it's already broken above the halfway mark, so it's kind of invalidated it as a downward move. Okay, so if I took this whole move from here to here, should be here and here, what we got is a 0.5 in this area, which means that we have a target of 1.5 right here, 6605. Now, I'm not saying it's going to get there today, but that's what this is implying. This move right here back to the 0.5 is a 1.5 move, which would take it to 6607.8. We still got lots of resistance sitting in between the two, this being a major one right here. Yesterday's value area high, along with the 2.0 from this move, which we may have already considered that tagged. All right, if you notice, I just measured this move right here. And it could have several different alternatives. It could have stopped right here, right here, right here. I seem to think, though, it's right here. And we'll see right now whether that 0.5 holds. But targeting wise, it's shooting right back down to this 0.5. Now that's popping above it on very small volume, so let's see what happens. I'm expecting it to at least come back down to here, which is the 1.5 of the downward move. But because of this, we've got several different lines of attractment right here. This being part of the overnight. That's the 100 of the overnight. You got the 0.5 of this move, and that's the 200 of this downward move that it's working on right now. Now, if I would have shorted it right here, I'd have to be out right here. My gut feeling tells me that this is still a magnet right here. This 92 area. Right now, my first target would be here, but this looks like a good place for a major target. So we either have here, in my view, or we have here. Okay, on any normal day, I would have already deleted this measurement when this got up to here. The reason why I kept it because of targeting, which this will look like a extremely good spot to target. I'm gonna delete it. I'll still keep this white line here as a target, downside target. But we can get rid of that because it's fixing to hit a major target right up here. Okay, the lavender small dash line was yesterday's value area high. This line is the 3.0 from the current cycle, which even if I move this up to here, that makes it the 2.0. If I measure, oh, too much of this, that probably presents us with our next target, which I measured this move back down to almost the 0.5. That gives us the 1.5 as a target, which is right here. All right, there we go. That's our target right there. We do have another one up here. We've got one way up here at the old 5. But this is a target right there. You got two cycles pointing towards this exact point, 6601. That makes it exactly what I'm trying to teach today. But for this pattern right here, this is an S curve, a 2.0 S curve. So it's going, right now it's sitting at the 1.5. You may need to come back down into here before it goes. But because it did not reach the 0.5, that makes it a 2.0 pattern. And we still got all this down here magnetizing it. So I've still not ruled out the fact that we may come all the way back. That would be my target. And it may go higher than that, but if I was in a trade, I'd be out right here when it gets up to this point. If you watch those first two videos of mine, you'll know that when I get to a 2.0 move, that's generally when I take. I'm almost all the way out of my positions. I may still leave some runners, but it is 1:30 on a Friday afternoon. Between now and the close, there's no telling what it'll do. Yep, there we go. Look at that. Man, what I say, you don't never know what it's going to do. Now, is that a washout? Okay, what I've just done is move these up to the next levels. See, it's so we almost came to the 2.5 of this move. And we went to the 2.0 of what was the first initial move. Even with this kind of volume, this still in the back of my mind is a magnet. Okay, we got a 2.0 sitting right here at yesterday's value area high. So that would be a logical place. Have to see if this 0.5 holds. Okay, I just did a quick measurement of this, and I could have chose this level for the bottom, or I could have come all the way down to here. But I chose to do this because it puts the 0.5 at that level and makes this look like a 1.5 move, which is what I'm expecting. I had this measured, but it's already broke above it, it closed above it, and then broke the high. Of course, now we're coming right back down into it. If it breaks this low, then this measurement, or if it breaks the 0.5 here, this is no longer valid. It has to break it, close below it, and then break the low. Get a close, and then a break of that low, and this will be gone. And that's how you get rid of these measurements when you get so many of them. You just stick by the rules and you delete them as they break the rules. Still need to break this low right here before I could remove this measurement. Till then, I am bullish on the quickest cycle. Target right here with these other two. Remember, this is yesterday's value area high. That is the 200 from, can't remember, from the overnight low. Yeah, from the overnight low, this move, which was a 200 move, it actually went to the 50. Alright, looks like we almost tagged it. Let me go ahead and move this down to it. That tagged it right there. So that becomes my 0.5 line. Now we're starting to get some downward volume, which makes sense. We're still got a magnet down here. Now the 2.0 move from this would be right here. So there's a possibility we make it back down to here. But my first target's here. That's what I would expect is the 1.5 move. Even if it comes back to the 0.5, that would be my expected, what I would expect to be the move. And why I think it's a good target is because I'm looking at this volume profile over here. You got two support levels right here. I just don't think they'll hold. I think it comes down to here. Okay, I was just curious. If you measured this down to here, that puts the 2.0 right here. I went ahead and moved it, moved it. That's it right there. That's the 2.0 off of this move, which I don't like measuring these that often. This is more just to let me know, or just information for me. But I would now take that, and that just adds more significance to this area, more resistance in this level right here. And that puts the 1.5 down here, closer to our, it's right there, closer to our magnet down here. So as long as it stays below that, I am looking for it to come into this area right in here. So my first target's still this. That was the move that I measured that I really didn't like, but it still seems to be holding up. And it was right in this volume profile point. So this would be my first target right here. Alright, we just tagged that one. Now let's see if we can get to the 2.0, which is down here along with all this other stuff. It's 2:24 Central Time. And we have got a lot of magnet right here. Got one support line right here, along with the support we're working on right here. But for this entire move right here, it could not even get back to the 0.5. So I am really looking forward to come down to this 1.5. Like I said, that 0.5 line is going to act as a little bit of support, but I still think we got a magnet coming down here. Alright, that just tagged the 2.0 from this move, which was a little S-curve looking thing. From here, probably need to come back up into this area. That means I can take this as the entire move. Yeah, it should come back up into this area. But I'm going to leave this here. Instead of stretching it, I'm going to just add zones to it. And that would be the next zone down. There it is. Both point of controls, the chart point of control and the daily point of control right down here. That's our VWAP, daily VWAP right there. It just kind of bounced off of it. So it just came down into the magnet. It's hit the 200 from that. It hit the 1.5 from that. I guess my next idea would be this 200 line, or that's the 300 line from the initial. Looky there. That's the point of controls right there. But this is still the magnet area right here. We got too much inside here. And just for the sake of things, let's go back over to the moving averages and see what we got. All right, 5 minute moving averages were trapped between the 50 simple moving average and the 200 was right here at 3.0. So if I was watching the moving averages along with the VWAPs, I would have seen that that was a major attraction right there, magnet. We still got a lot of volume profile in this area. That's the 5 day point of control, and there's today's point of control. We'll bounce it off the 200, probably going to go back up into this area. This will be still strong support right here. These 0.5 levels, I keep them around so long just because of that fact. That is 2.5 from this move. And the 3 would be down here. And we got a 0.5 from the overnight right here. So that would be strong support. We're kind of getting out of the volume profile area. At some point we're going to want to come back up into it. I still think this is a magnet area right here. Now I just took this measurement for the fun of it. It's way too small of a price action for me to do anything with, but I just thought I'd show how targeting works. You got to move here. It needs to come back to the 0.5 and come down to the 1.5. Well, that makes sense because the entire move from here to here, the 0.5 is that bluish line right here. So it would make sense that it wants to come back down to here. Now, like I said, it's Friday afternoon. That's a small move. We're right in the middle of all the magnets, so there's no telling what will happen. But I would still, I'm still leaning towards that until something proves it different. All right, something proved it different. We went from less about 9,000 here a while ago to almost 12. So I think somebody's trying to beef it up again. That's a ways to go in the next 10 minutes. That's 6,600. That's way back up here to the value area high from yesterday. 1.5 from this moves right there. 97. So this could prove to be a magnet area in the short term. This move, 1.5 to the 1 to the 2. And the 2.5 is right there. 6,600 level and yesterday's high. All right, this becomes a magnet right here. Both point of controls, day and chart port right there. Point of controls, and then you got the daily VWAP sitting there. 6 minutes left. I still think it's in control enough to get to here. All right, that was the closing bell. Anyone who's still watching, congratulations. Okay, but to summarize what I was trying to teach today is watch those first two videos, learn how to grasp that these moves I'll tell you if they're 1.5 or 2.0 moves, and then look and see what else is being targeted. Like today, these VWAPs and point of controls were basically the magnet all day long. And we had several of the moves point directly to that. Other times we had shorter term moves pointing to longer term moves. Uh, and that's why you have to keep so many lines. But if you go back and view the very first video, I think it's the first one, it'll explain to you how to get rid of the extra measurements once they're done. So we had to keep this one all day because it was a perfect up to the 1 to the 0.5 headed to the 1.5. So this 0.5 line became a very strong support line. And the same thing with the overnight. I just deleted it at the end. I can't remember where it was now. It was probably right here. Let's see. Yeah, that would have been that lavenderish line that we dealt with most of the day too. And like I said, just because I used the VWAP on this chart right here to demonstrate the technique, it doesn't mean that we couldn't have used the moving averages. In fact, I use uh, all the above on my charts. It's just it would have been too much to try to teach in one day. Let's go back to the moving averages, but the measurements work much better than anything else. You have to use them in coordination with the other things on your chart. Now I also use indicators below here that help me with timing. Uh, so whatever's in your bag of tools, use that. Learn this technique, how to make these measurements, and you'll get the idea when it's safe to get in and when you should get out. The main thing to remember is it can break through here, but it needs a close below the 0.5 and then a break of whatever that first low was or what the close had on it, and before you're stopped out. All right, that's it of today's video. Thank you for watching.